If you've seen my Hakuto reviews, you might recall one episode review where I referenced and even used one of the picture books the Kamikita Futago provided the illustrations for. Of the classic fairy tales they've drawn for, all of them seem to share a common theme. Yup, they were all stories about princesses, with all but one of them having gotten the Disney treatment both in animation and unfortunately live action form. I bring all this up because I think the twins were on some kind of fairy tale high, which I think Miyuki is on 24/7, when they wrote this particular manga chapter. They seem to have taken elements from both their Little Mermaid book, which just so happened to be the book I referenced in that Hakuto review, plus one more, which I won't say what it is just yet. I think you actually might be able to guess what it is as we take a look at the final chapter of the first volume of the Mahotsukai Precure manga. So, after the last chapter just suddenly ended with Hachan turning into a young adult Precure, we open this chapter with a more humanoid and teenage version of the fairy, who now goes by Kotoha Hanami.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I just say go with it. This is meant to be a more laid-back manga, so while I still think the transition was awkward, I can let it pass and just have fun like these girls were during their summer vacation. Then again, I'm not completely sure if Liko was all that happy that yet another magical prodigy was trumping her, this time her own fairy daughter. Oh, I'm certainly not jealous of the fact that little brat has more talent than me, no sorry, Bob. Of course, as a part of their summer vacation, they went to the beach, which I'm looking forward to seeing reopen soon, and as I mentioned in the intro, they put on their tail fins to visit a mermaid village in the magical world. Though, now that I think about it, it's actually a fairly common practice amongst the Precure teams. Though, I can't really recall Minami ever putting on a pair of flippers. Big missed opportunity there, guys. Anyway, the Mermaid Village was a pleasant place full of happy sea life, normies, and a very grumpy shark. Well, can't really blame him for being upset. We never did get Jaws 19. Actually, the reason he was upset was because Mirai got the bright idea to try and take home some live coral as a souvenir, which, yeah, that is very much prohibited, especially here in Hawaii. Thus, understandably, Bruce here wasn't too happy with these damn tourists, but Kotoha wasn't at all fazed by the big fish. He ended up taking her away, and after some very casual introductions, seemed to befriend her. This resulted in him and his seahorse servant to suddenly transform, much like Kotoha, into a couple of pretty boy mermen. Yeah, you might be able to guess what was the other fairy tale the Kamikita Futago decided to throw into this story. As after reuniting with her mommies, Wolfrune exposited what they had learned about the Meg. Apparently, he was originally a prince of a neighboring kingdom who, after one day turning away a witch who had visited his castle, had a dreadful curse placed on him which turned him into a beastly form, and yeah, you get the idea. So, basically, this whole chapter was the excuse for the Kamikitas to be able to publish their Beast Ariel slash fic. Though, who am I kidding? It's only a matter of time before Disney makes a cinematic universe out of their princess movies. But yeah, apparently the prince had been missing for about a year, with the kingdom having believed he had just been spirited away. Guys, let's not get Hayao Miyazaki involved on top of everything else. Anyway, Kota's meeting and earning the affection of the prince temporarily lifted the curse, but it also set off a timer of which the two needed to fall into true love in order to completely lift the curse. If she didn't, the prince would go the same way as the OG Little Mermaid from Hans Christian Andersen's story. With that, Kota decided to ask her mothers if they knew a spell that could create true love. Well, you see, Kotaha, when a man and woman love each other very, very much, The trio met with the prince once again, this time revealing their true forms, as well as the fact that they shared the same occupation as the lady who turned him into an employee at Amagi Brilliant Park in the first place. Still, Kota was as cool as a cucumber, and even managed to learn that the prince's name was Jade because, get it? It's mostly green jewel like an emerald. Kamikita Futago, this whole chapter mostly takes place in the water. You don't have to be so blatant with your shipping already. Liko rightfully pointed out that Jade didn't seem to be taking the whole find true love or else you become bath salts thing all that seriously. And the prince responded by saying that he didn't have to do anything to garner Kota's love, and his servant, yeah, this guy doesn't get a name, so I think I'll just call him Aqua Lumiere, went on to explain how this douche was a pretty boy with a lot of wealth, prestige, status.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, thankfully, the Precure could see right through this dude, with Mofurun having the most savage response, and Kota delivering a critical blow by not being phased in the slightest. Her mom's then provided her with the most appropriate case of enabling. Still, Jade wasn't gonna find a clue anytime soon, and thus Liko decided they should just ditch him. Okay, a little much there, Magical. I mean, I get protecting your daughter and everything, and the guy is a bit of a colossal douche, but at the same time, you're kind of leaving him to die in 3 days. In any case, they were quickly stopped when another slightly significant caveat to the curse was revealed. As it turned out, if the curse came to pass, then all of the mermen would share in Jade's bubbly fate. Oh, well, damn. I mean, it's not every day the Precure have to deal with extinction-level threats outside of maybe the final boss, and even then, at least it's instantaneous. Killing the entirety of just one biological gender dooms the species to a painful and very depressing death. I honestly love the twins' writing and everything, but man, sometimes their stuff can get dark. Naturally, Daddy Liko had no choice but to let her daughter date this putz for the sake of an entire species. With that, the two spent the next couple of days getting closer, doing the usual romance manga cliches, as though this were written by Nozaki himself.
どう思う?
乗っていくか。
ダセー。
As well as all sorts of other aquatic-related activities that possibly include animal abuse here. However, even all of that wasn't exactly getting Kota to swoon over this guy. That is, until the mischievous, Mario enemy almost got her, but Jade saved her. She tried to thank him with a hug, but...
Easy. Social distancing, buddy. Social distancing.
Actually, as Mofurun unfortunately discovered, his skin was covered in a strong poison that only affected females, which included the teddy bear. Let's save that for the anime review. More importantly, let's just appreciate this fantastic Konosuba level face on the bear. Anyway, this also might explain his initial kind of cocky attitude. For Jade, betting on Kota just automatically falling in love with him probably seemed like it was the only option at the time. I mean, yeah, obviously there are ways to get closer to someone without touching, but of course that didn't register with this royal spoiled brat. Plus, he might have had a contingency plan if things didn't pan out, as we'll see later. We also got a little more of his backstory, and even though this isn't a Disney movie, I guess they felt like they needed to include the dead parents trope because why not? Regardless, this earned Kota's sympathy, and she sung a little song for the lonely prince. And this nice little moment was then followed up with a really nice 2-page spread of them taking a trip to a beautiful reef. God, when these twins draw backgrounds, they're amazing. Jade also shared his dream with her, which was to fill the ocean with flowers, which I hope he's talking about stuff like coral, because I don't think actual flowers can survive in salt water. But whatever, he was probably more paying tribute to Kota's surname, which is formed with the kanji representing flowers and the ocean. Speaking of which, he finally referred to her by name. Again, a big cliche there, but cute Kota, so I can let it slide. And it worked and finally won her over. All seemed well, until someone with a very thick Valley Girl accent ruined the moment. Ah, jeez, I won. Could you and Yui take your chase somewhere else? No, of course, since we've reached the climax of this little tale, the witch who originally cursed Jade arrived, and she was a super weebified version of the character. I mean, the twins actually drew a pretty cool interpretation of the Sea Witch for their Little Mermaid picture book, who, upon closer inspection, looks like a younger version of that design, like a lowly Ursula. Lowly Ursula. Ursula Lowly. Ursa Lowly, let's go with that. Yeah, again, they didn't give this character an actual name. Anyway, just like her Disney equivalent, Ursa Loli decided to cheat and muck things up at the last minute, in this case forcefully turning Jade into a savage shark form. The Precure also transformed, and again, while the Kamikitas aren't all that great with action scenes, they did manage to put together a few decent panels that got across the idea that the Precure were essentially fighting one of the sharks from Deep Blue Sea. God, I love the fact that I was able to throw in so many shark movie references into this one review. The curse began to take effect on all of the mermen, which prompted the Sea Witch to boast about how she was going to enjoy watching this race slowly fade away with the remaining females holding a grudge towards the one who caused all of it. Have I ever mentioned how much I love the original villains the twins create for their books? They're always so gleefully sadistic that even when they go over the top, they still often feel more threatening than any of the antagonists from the source material. But the fact that she plans on watching them die slowly makes her one of the most morally reprehensible characters in this entire franchise. Take notes, writers. You don't necessarily have to constantly up the stakes, though it's not discouraged. But at the same time, just make sure your baddie is enjoying it every step of the way. The Precure were left with no options, but when it all seemed lost, Jade suddenly took back control of his body and began ramming himself into some rocks. Yeah, remember that little contingency plan I brought up a few minutes ago? Well, theoretically, in order for the curse to go into full effect, Jade has to die by turning into bubbles. So, what would happen if he were to go beforehand? The fact that he went straight to this as soon as he regained some control seems to suggest that he had resolved to do this from the very beginning. Like, perhaps he knew making any girl fall in love with him and his literally toxic body would be near impossible, so he may as well die alone as an ugly monster rather than take his people down with him. Excuse me, I need to go eat some ice cream. Kota was quickly able to put together what he was trying to do, and thus told her teammates to deal with Ursa Loli while she confronted Jade, and oh god, please stop, you two. I'm running out of Klondike bars here! Mia and Liko managed to take the Evil Witch's wand, and then confronted her over her motivations. Liko believed that she still had feelings for the prince, and this curse was her lashing out in the most yandere way possible. Yeah, while I keep referencing Ursula, let's not forget, this character also borrows elements from the Enchantress from Beauty and the Beast. You know, the character who should never be considered a protagonist in any version of the story. Right, Disney? But yeah, if we're going by the original tale by, not even going to try pronouncing that, the beast was cursed because he refused the advances of his caretaker, the witch, who waited until he was just of legal age before she tried to seduce the barely legal adult. Yeah, thankfully of all of the dark elements in this story, the Kamikitas decided to leave that out and make these characters of similar age. Anyway, in Liko's professional opinion, Ursa Loli was mostly just harming herself by hurting the person she loved, and that true love doesn't involve hurting anyone. And yes, she says all of this while looking straight at Mirai.
Just
Not yet, save it for the second volume. With that, they tried to convince her to lift the curse, but even if she wanted to, it was apparently too late, and the prince and all of his male subjects were doomed to disappear, or so she thought, as, Okay, sorry, but as much as I really do want to show this next 2-page spread because it is incredibly well drawn, I also don't want this video to get age restricted. So take my word for it when I say it shows Kotoha hugging the stomach of a shark Jade while his busted open nose paints the ocean a crimson red. By doing this, she was of course being affected by the Shark Prince's poison skin, but the fairy Precure wasn't going to let go as she had truly fallen for the guy. And with that, the two were finally able to declare their love for each other. Do I really want to ruin this moment? Oh, who am I kidding? Of course I do. The curse was lifted, all of the mermen survived, and oh yeah, Aqua Lumiere was a character in this story, wasn't he? Miai returned Ursa Loli's wand, telling her not to do this kind of stuff anymore, and yeah, I kinda think she deserves a little more than just a slap on the wrist there, but at the same time, I guess there were no actual casualties, and she did leave the couple with a parting gift. The next day, the two kept on talking about their love for each other. Yeah, I don't regret using that Symphogear clip considering how much they're milking this too. However, they inevitably had to go their separate ways and agreed to just watch each other from afar. Koto's moms tried to comfort her, only to discover she now had the face of a love-struck maiden. Thus, our story ended the best way possible, with a super smug Mofun pointing out how the daughter had gotten a few steps ahead of the mothers.
So, that was the final chapter of the first volume of the Mahotsukai Precure manga, featuring the little hulking merbeast. Yeah, calling right now, this was the best retelling of both of those fairy tales. I mean, just like the Smile Precure movie, they managed to match up our heroines with some unrelated fairy tales, and it all came together to make for a very engaging and at times pretty darn heart-wrenching little fairy tale. And combine that with the excellent art of the Kamihita Futago, and you end up with a great closer to an overall great manga.
It's actually not a bad idea combining these two tales with this particular Precure series, as both had evil witches that our good witches could overcome. Combining the two made for one heck of an antagonist who, in spite of only appearing in like the last few pages, was just so delightfully evil. Just sadistically watching an entire species go extinct just because one guy gave her the cold shoulder. Yeah, I do kind of wish that they didn't just let her off so easily, but I guess I should also appreciate that she didn't totally reform. And speaking of her ex, turning the beast into a shark was one of the smartest applications of the creature that will only ever be outmatched by Tommy Wiseau. He started off as your typical jerk-ass pretty boy, but as the story went on, it became clear that part of it was because he didn't want to hurt anyone by letting them get too close to him and his poisoned skin. As a result, he was left with somewhat of a catch-22. He needed to earn Koto's love, but couldn't make any physical contact without hurting her. This turned him into a tragic, yet very noble character who was literally willing to die for his people. In the end though, Kota accepted sharing the pain, and the two formed a couple that sadly couldn't stay together, but would always have the memories. Surprisingly, even though this clearly wasn't their story, Mia and Liko did play a significant part here. Not so much that they took away from the main romance, but enough so that they were entertaining by being at their most overprotective mother levels. And it goes without saying that Mofurun and her reaction faces provide some excellent comedic relief. Overall, was this the greatest love story ever told? Absolutely not, but for a 43-page tale, Jade and Kota's interactions were cute, making for some fine romance manga fluff. Plus again, sharks make almost anything better. And as the closing chapter to this little manga, it was a great way of topping off a book full of good comedy, really enjoyable characters, fun interactions, and just really touching moments. I'll look forward to covering Volume 2 in the near future, because this was overall one of my favorite Precure manga so far. Once again, as always, great job there, twins.
However, as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm going to start slowing things down again, just so that I can go back to working on my Happiness Charge review, which I'll say right now, it'll be done when it's done. I will say, it was fun making weekly reviews like these, but at the same time, I don't want to lose track of the QC of my videos. Plus, I do legitimately want to go back to this series, especially considering what's coming up next. Still, look forward to it. Until then, though, farewell for that, my friends, and... Are the Pika Goro Clouds back? Oh no, I forgot about those shark movies, didn't I? Quick, everyone get your shark repellent!